I'm a very young Gen Xer. I was born in the very late 1970s. So I'm right there on the cusp between Generation X and Millennial, for all that really matters, the whole generational thing or whatever. But the one thing that I learned from Millennials over the last decade or so, and this is going to sound like an insult, but it's not meant to be an insult. It's, even if you don't know what you're talking about, just make a video about it. That's basically what I learned. And the reason it's not meant to be an insult is because I wish I had done it myself way back when YouTube first started. I mean, I was on YouTube the first year it came out, which was 2006, I think it was. And back then it was like cat videos and people jerking around doing like jackass type videos and things like that. It wasn't much. But within a couple of years, it quickly started to become a little bit more and more. And I was into filmmaking and videography and stuff. In fact, by that point, when YouTube first started, that's when I started in my career doing video professionally. I had done it as a hobby all through my teenage years and up through my early 20s and stuff. So I started doing it as a hobby around then. And I thought, I came up in the 90s as a teenager learning video on old analog video systems and learning film because I wanted to be a filmmaker, like learning film cinematography and stuff, so like the mechanical cameras and celluloid film. And so I studied the heck out of that stuff. Books, I had Video Maker magazines, I had American Cinematographer magazines, I had, I was on bulletin boards early on the internet, like talking to people who, worked in the industry and were doing other indie filmmaking type stuff like me. I was pretty involved in all that. And I was trying to learn as much as I could, as much as possible. And the thing is I was talking to a lot of people that knew a whole lot more than I ever knew. And I was learning a lot, but I would have never had the sort of gumption to go out there and make a video about this stuff until maybe I felt like I was a professional at it, like a real, and I mean like a real like pro, like had like a couple of decades under my belt and really knew the technical aspects of it like really well. And so I guess I misunderstood what was desirable. I thought I needed to be a specialist. Turns out I just needed to be a communicator. And that's something basically that the Millennials taught me, is they got out there on the internet, on YouTube, pretty early on, 2010s and so on, and they were out there just making videos about whatever, almost as if an older generation of specialists didn't exist. And they were discovering these ancient technologies and stuff for the very first time and then trying to explain it to their millennial peers. And I would watch some of these videos and be like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Like, all of this is wrong. Like, why are you out here, like, making a video giving people all this wrong information about this? Or not giving them enough information, or whatever the case may be. And just thinking to myself, geez, I would have never tried this, done this, had the courage, I guess you could say, to do it, because I would have been so hamstrung by the fact that I would have thought some middle-aged professional guy working in the broadcast industry or film industry or whatever would have showed up in the comments and been like, hey kid, get off the internet, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, get out of here, like, stop feeding everybody a bunch of misinformation. And the thing is I've come across guys like that in comments, and they usually aren't saying that, even when I'm watching these videos and people are just wrong about stuff, and they're just mostly just kind of waxing nostalgic about the old days. Like, oh, back in my old day, we used to blah, 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 with these tape formats and whatever, telling their stories in the comment sections rather than actually like correcting anything in the video that's wrong. And it made me realize that people don't care. Like, they just don't care. They don't care about the details. As much as I thought they would, they don't. I was so hung up on getting all of the technical information correct, getting everything in line to the point where nobody could look at what I was saying and go, that's wrong, you got that wrong. And I think part of that is the fact that I grew up in a generation that, I mean, even though I'm at the very tail end of Gen Xers, it was a kind of a sarcastic and a little bit of a negative generation to some degree. Where, you know, I mean, if I had gone out with a video camera on a gimbal filming myself in public, people would have been like, you know, back in the day, people would have been like, look at that fool, what's he doing, you know? Today you got millennials going out there everywhere in the middle of a huge crowd, just filming themselves, talking to the camera, blah, 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 blah. No care in the world. Like, there's a certain degree of just like, I don't know, I'm not even sure what to call it, and I don't give a shit attitude about other people, or about looking like an idiot when it comes to not knowing your stuff all the way, or just being out there. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. I wish I had that myself, especially when I was younger, because I look back now and I go, wow, man, I missed out on all these years. Like, I was there, you know, at YouTube from the very beginning. Like, this channel of mine, if you look at it, like, it's there from like, what, 2006, 2007, somewhere like that. That was when it started. And I could have been making videos and putting them out there this whole time with a bunch of incorrect information, or at least, you know, not fully correct information. And, you know, the every once in a while neckbeard guy coming up on the comments like myself saying, hey, that's wrong and that's wrong and that's wrong, nobody would have cared, as nobody does seem to care most of the time. In fact, most of these content creators don't even read the comments that they get on most of their videos. And yet a lot of them these days have made a career out of it. Some of them are even like old news at this point in time. Like, they've been around so long that they're sort of they become the seasoned professionals at this point in time, because they've been making videos on YouTube for 10 plus years, you know? And it's kind of crazy when I look back and I go, man, I could have been there, like, doing that myself. I mean, I would have been there right from the very beginning doing that kind of stuff if I would have had the kind of courage to know that I could do that and hadn't been so held back by this fear that I was going to get something wrong and I was going to get called out by all these old pros who are going to tell me, oh, I got that wrong, or I got that wrong, or you know what I mean? And even then, should I have cared back then? Probably not. But I was so hung up on trying to get it right, you know, and just there was this feeling that, like, well, you shouldn't do it unless you're going to do it right, kind of thing. And yet millennials, like I said, they're just out there just, you know, to everybody. It's like half of it's wrong. And it's like, all right, well, but they're doing it, and they're, you know, some of them are making some bank, and it's, what are you going to do? It's just, I don't know if it's just the attitude of that generation versus mine, and maybe that's the separator there. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just an individual thing. I don't really know, but it just, if there's one thing I look at, and I think I've learned from millennials more than anything, it's just go out, you know, it's like the Nike slogan, just do it, you know, just go out there and do it, and commenters be damned, you know, naysayers be damned. It's less about accuracy. It's more about just consistently banging out the content over and over and over again on a consistent rate. And actually that seems to apply to everything, not just YouTube videos. I mean, we see it in politics, we see it in everything. Like, nobody seems to pay attention to the details. And the people that do, you know, are barely a voice to contend with. You know, they're just one of many in the grand scheme of things that just get kind of washed away in the comments as time goes on. So just go out and do it anyway. So anyway, that's what I've learned from millennials. And it's just sad I didn't learn that lesson on my own sooner at some point. Almost 2 decades ago now. Hey, we all have to learn at some point, or at least we hope we learn at some point. It's better to learn it, I guess, than to never learn it. So, all right, that's all I got for now. Have a good one. Talk to you later.